Mailbag time here on Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. Emmanuel's first up here on our NBA Q&A. Hawks trade Trae Young and DeAndre Hunter for Devin Booker. Who is that? Otto Porter, and they swap picks, and the Hawks pick up a Zach LaVine in free agency. Zach LaVine's not a free agent, so this is kind of all over the place. I'll just simplify it here. They're not trading Trae Young. So that's number one. So any Hawks-related trades, Trae Young's not going anywhere. He's one of, 10 or 15 players in the NBA that's basically untradeable. He's not going anywhere. Kurt Wagner here. Fournier to L.A. for Danny Green, Talen Horton-Tucker, and a second at the trade deadline. Fournier's a free agent for one, so that's not an option. I guess if they could do like a sign-and-trade like Durant and the Warriors did with the Nets last year, but they're not doing that for Fournier. The Lakers, I don't expect the Lakers to be heavily involved this free agency in trades or anything like that. They're going to re-sign AD and they're going to run it back. And because who's taking Danny Green's contract, especially after that Game 5 performance? I don't think that's going to happen, especially because Fournier's a free agent. RNG here, Grizzlies trade that they could make. Oh, I got Hater Jimmy up here. Who should they trade for? What do you think? What do they need? Like a 3-and-D type? Because you got Jackson, you got Ja Morant. How about this? They should go sign Jay Crowder. Go get a veteran wing. Bring him back. Yeah, they just had him. I forgot about that. Bring him back. Give him some veteran leadership. Make some threes. Play some defense. I would like that. I don't think they should trade any of their young assets. How about that? Continue to build around Morant and Jaren Jackson. I think that is what they should do if I was the Memphis Grizzlies. So use hashtag NBA, or you can super chat. That way Sam can get his can find the questions a lot easier. Frank is up using hashtag NBA. Should the Warriors trade the number 2 pick? This is such a popular topic around the NBA because it's very rare when a team with 2 and potentially 3 established stars, although I don't think Draymond's a star at this point, but some would disagree, have a top 3 pick like this, right? Warriors, Steph was hurt this year, Clay was hurt, they basically tanked, get the number 2 pick, and now a lot of people thinking, hey, maybe they could trade, and the latest report is even that they could trade down and draft Devin Vassel and maybe pick up an additional pick by doing so, or an additional player to do so. If a team's desperate enough to get up to that number 2 slot, they might be able to get decent value for him. Vassel's a 3-and-D prospect, shot 41% from 3 this past year at Florida State, so I think that would be interesting. All eyes are on Golden State this offseason because I think they can contend as soon as next year if everybody's healthy and they add a piece or two. So keep an eye on the Warriors because Steve Kerr recently said this roster is far from finished, and that tells me they're going to be busy this offseason. If you Warriors fans want a Steph Curry jersey or Klay Thompson, Draymond, or any NBA player jersey, go to chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. We'll put that link in the comments and in the description. By the way, you can get jersey insurance. What does that mean, Harrison? Jersey insurance sounds like a State Farm commercial. No, if the player that you're getting gets traded, you can tell our partner Fanatics. They'll hook you guys up with a new jersey, so don't be afraid if one of these guys could get traded. Chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. That link will be in the comments. It'll be in the description. We got all of the superstars from all 30 NBA teams, including Kawhi Leonard. Chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. King Green next up here. Pistons need to blow it up. Yes, they do. Here's the problem. Who's taking Blake Griffin? Crickets, because no one wants that contract. He has too many injuries. That's an issue. They need to restart, but they can't. That's the unfortunate truth. So they're kind of stuck, right? Like if they're fully healthy, they might be able to challenge for the 8 seed in the East, but they probably won't be, and they'll keep picking in the lottery, but they won't be bad enough to get like a top 3 pick because they still have Blake Griffin. So they're in a bad situation, no doubt. Emmanuel's next up here. Celtics trade Kemba Walker to the Pacers for Victor Oladipo and a pick involved. Kemba's got more value, right, Jimmy? So Victor in like a second for Kemba, maybe? Victor in a low first, something like that. I don't really know what that does for Boston. I keep seeing these Kemba trade ideas. I think you only do that if you get a legitimate big. Like, I would rather trade for Miles Turner because the Celtics have plenty of guards and wings. What they don't have is bigs. So I don't really think Boston does that. ZAL, Paul George for Jimmy Butler trade. The Heat say bleep no. Have you watched the playoffs? Like, come on. You're telling me that Paul George pulls off what Jimmy Butler has done in this playoffs? No freaking chance. Like, what Jimmy Butler has done with Miami, putting that team on his back, granted, with some help from some solid role players, it's very Mavericks 2011-esque. Now, he's, probably not going to finish it off here, but the fact that they have gotten to this point with Jimmy Butler, that he got to the finals with that group in Miami, much more valuable than Paul George at this point. I would much rather go to war with Jimmy Butler than Paul George. So shout out your favorite players. Spam the comments. I'll tell you what, Jimmy Butler's become one of my favorite players this playoff run. Big fan of what he's been able to do. Love Luka Doncic. I'm a Mavericks fan, so he's fun to watch, obviously. Used to be a Durant guy, but then he sold his soul to go chase some rings, so not a big fan of his. Damian Lillard, like him. But let me know. Shout out your favorite player. I see a John Morant in there. Devin Booker, I like him a lot as well. Tons of fun players in today's NBA. So just pick one and put it in the comments section. King again, what do the Pistons do in the draft? I'm trying to think. What pick do they have? I think they have like a top 10 pick. Point guard, Jimmy tells me. They need a point guard. Go check out Jimmy's mock draft, and you can find out who he has the Pistons taking. It's up on the channel. Just subscribe, turn on notifications. Just scroll through the video tab. His mock draft went out, I believe, in the last week or so, so go check that out. Staying in Detroit from Dalton here, what would happen, or who would trade for D. Rose? Isn't he a free agent too? Oh, he's got one more year? Okay, D. Rose, who needs him? Jimmy says both LA teams, which, sure, but he's kind of got a decent contract. He's on the MLE, I believe. A veteran team that needs a bench point guard does make sense, and that does fit the bill, especially for the Lakers there. I'm trying to think of like another team. How about Brooklyn? I think that would be interesting. The Nets, who are trying to win this next season. RNG Beamy, Bradley Beal to Portland. Portland would be thrilled for that. They'd never stop anybody, but they might score 135 points a game. You know what? What's interesting is Beal recently, and I covered this the other day on our NBA News and Rumors video, he says he wants to give it a shot with John Wall this year, which I don't know if I believe him, but that's what he said. A lot of teams are going to be calling the Wizards for Beal. There's no doubt about that. He's going to have to sit down with that front office and be honest with them and say, hey, here's where I'm at. And then they're going to have to make a decision on whether or not to trade him and get something for him, because if you keep him and he walks eventually in free agency, that is the last thing you want. That's happened way too often to teams in the NBA. So we'll see what happens. I could see that being more of a deadline trade for next year. They start it, give it a go, and if Washington stinks, then they just trade him at the trade deadline. Got time for a few more here. Emmanuel Corker, Warriors trade the number 2 pick in Jordan Poole to the Hawks for John Collins. That feels like a little much. The number 2 pick and a first rounder from last year for John. Is that John Collins or Zach Collins in Atlanta? John Collins. He's a 20-point scorer, but number 2 pick. I know this draft's uncertain. I don't know. That feels a little rich to me. I'd rather hang on to number 2 and hope I can hit on somebody. What's a guarantee? Number 2 pick, no guarantee. Chat Sports is a guarantee. We're 100% free. We put up videos every single day, not only on the NBA, but also on the NFL. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. We got the latest news and rumors surrounding the NBA, and trade season SZN is officially upon us. Jimmy and I are fired up to get going here, continue what we've been doing for the last several months. Subscribe, turn on noties. We got a lot of coverage and things planned for you guys here on Chat Sports. Kurt again, if the Raptors lose Fred VanVleet, Gasol, and Ibaka in the offseason, are they still a playoff team? You certainly have to replace those guys. I think you got to focus on keeping VanVleet. You can't lose him. Look, Gasol, Ibaka, they're old. They need to go latch on with some like high-level contenders for cheap, like the Lakers, the Clippers, someone like that. But you really need VanVleet back, in my opinion. But if you lose all those guys and don't adequately replace them, then maybe you're a playoff team still with Siakam and Anunoby and those guys, but you're not a contender at that point. No way. PCN, hashtag NBA. From a depressed Knicks fan, who do the Knicks draft this year? Any possible trades? Well, what I said is they shouldn't trade for Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook, which means they probably will trade for one of those guys. Obviously, they were disappointed on draft lottery night. They have the number 8 pick, the number 27 pick. Hopefully you hit on your number 8 pick here. Maybe they look to trade up. You can package those picks, move up a couple of spots. But this draft is so weird. I don't think there's any guarantees with any players in this draft, honestly. College basketball got cut short. We haven't seen these guys work out much. I don't know what to expect from this year's draft class. So it's a rough time for the Knicks. I don't feel great about the Thibodeau hire, quite frankly. So I don't know what to tell you, PCN. I'm sure Dolan will try to pull something off this offseason. Next up, would the Thunder trade Chris Paul? And yes, who? I think if they get anything at all for him, they would do it. Because Chris Paul still is owed $85 million over the next 2 years. That's a lot of money for, yes, a guy who had a nice bounce-back season, but for a guy who's had a lot of injuries in recent years, a guy who's going to be 36 in May. I love Chris Paul. I think it's a great story this year in OKC, but if I'm a team, I'm not trading for him. If I'm the Thunder, if I can get something for him, I'm jumping on that because I think Sam Presti is a very realistic general manager, and he knows that this team is not ready to contend for a title, so I think he'll be looking to trade CP3.